Most people think the Battle of the Little Bighorn ended on a single afternoon in 1876. But what if I told you the real story stretched on for more than 100 years, carried not by soldiers or historians, but by a handful of battered relics that traveled farther than any surviving cavalrymen? Picture this: a gold watch traded in a dusty saloon, a handwritten message believed burned to ash, and medals worth $35,000 torn from a battlefield soaked in gunpowder and smoke. These objects didn't just outlive the battle, they reshaped how we understand it. And today, we've uncovered new evidence that shows these relics didn't just survive, they refused to disappear. If the artifacts themselves kept the truth alive for a century, what else have they been desperately trying to tell us? In this video, we explore the strange odyssey of these long-forgotten treasures. How did Custer's personal watch wind up in a traveling show? Or how did the medals worn by Captain Keogh protect his body from desecration? Each item carries a mysterious journey of its own, waiting to be uncovered. From the twisted fate of George Armstrong Custer's belongings to the papal medals worn by his men. These relics have crossed time and distance, telling stories we never imagined. Today, we bring these remarkable tales to light. Stay with us as we reveal their hidden histories, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. On June 25, 1876, the rolling plains of Montana echoed with the sounds of one of the most infamous clashes in American history, the Battle of the Little Bighorn. On that fateful day, 5 companies of the U.S. 7th Cavalry under General George Armstrong Custer met their end in a desperate fight against the united forces of the Lakota, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes. For the Native American nations, this was a battle for survival. For the U.S. Army, it became a legendary defeat. Yet even more mysterious than the battle are the strange journeys of the artifacts left behind. These objects, gold watches, medals, and personal mementos, formed histories of their own. They passed through the hands of warriors, soldiers, and collectors, traveling across the continent. Today, we examine the remarkable odyssey of these Little Bighorn relics, each one revealing a story of culture, conflict, and endurance. Take, for example, the engraved pocket watch of General Custer himself. Its path is as tangled as the life of the man who owned it. According to historian Evan S. Connell, in 1906, a Montana saloon keeper purchased the watch from a Sioux Indian, a remnant of the battle. From there, it was lost in a dice game, displayed in a traveling show, and eventually ended up in California. For years, it rested in the Dawn and Stella Foot collection in Montana, but when the city refused to pay for insurance on the collection, the artifacts were sold off. Today, the location of Custer's watch remains unknown. Yet there is another version of the story. Cecil Denny, a Canadian Mountie, claimed he retrieved that same watch from Sitting Bull himself and sent it to Custer's widow, Libby. The truth, like the watch, remains elusive, leaving us to wonder who last held it and where it ultimately went. Another curious relic is Custer's final message to Captain Benteen, written down by William Cook. This desperate plea for support disappeared for decades. In the 1920s, biographer William Graham attempted to locate it, only to be told it had been destroyed in a house fire. But that wasn't the case. The message had passed from Captain Benteen to another officer and later into the hands of a private collector in New Jersey. After years in obscurity, it was finally discovered and secured for the West Point Museum, where it remains today, a silent reminder of the chaos that consumed the battlefield. The medals of Captain Miles Keogh, who fought bravely alongside Custer, tell another fascinating chapter. Found on his body after the battle, these 2 papal medals may have spared him from mutilation by warriors who stripped the fallen soldiers. Awarded during the Papal War of 1860, the medals were sent to his family in Ireland, and after the battle, they remained in the family's possession until 1988, when they were auctioned for $35,000, a striking example of how history can be both intimate and immensely valuable. Then there is the story of 2nd Lieutenant John James Crittenden of Kentucky, a young officer who had just turned 22 when he died at Little Bighorn. His body, identified by his glass eye, was missing one precious item, a gold watch given to him by his father on his 21st birthday. In 1880, a Canadian trapper brought a watch into a trading post where the owner, Yef Jiggett, purchased it for $2. Intrigued by his status, Jiggett researched its origins. His inquiries eventually confirmed it belonged to Crittenden, and the artifact was returned to the family. Today, this piece of history rests in the Kentucky Historical Society, a cherished link to a life cut short by war. These artifacts are more than simple objects. They are fragments of a larger story, one of conflict, resilience, and legacy. They pass through the hands of Native American warriors and U.S. soldiers, collectors, and historians. Their travels mirror the tumultuous history of this land and the many peoples who lived upon it. As this video comes to a close, the long shadow of Little Bighorn stretches further than any battlefield monument. We followed watches that vanished and reappeared like ghosts, messages that evaded fire and rumor, and medals that traveled oceans carrying the final dignity of a fallen officer. These relics remind us that history doesn't end when the shooting stops. Sometimes it only begins when the last survivor is gone. But here lies the tragedy. The objects preserve themselves better than the voices of the people who touch them. Native warriors left no written accounts, and many cavalrymen left no descendants. Yet a watch, a scrap of paper, and 2 medals live long enough to rewrite questions we thought were settled. So here's a thought I'll leave you with, the one guaranteed to start a debate. If the artifacts contradicted the official story and survived long enough to prove it, does that mean the version of Little Bighorn we were taught was never the full truth to begin with? Drop your thoughts below. Some answers are still waiting to be found.